See, so I don't know. This moment of the show is like a dream come true for me. And my producer will tell you why. So we're thinking of having a segment with you. And then I had a call from Vince's team, Eric's team at Vint and Alethea about something like this we were putting together. And that the fact that it's already, when you guys went live about people joining this particular project, it went fully booked. And I'm like, people don't even allow us to start making noise about this. Are you all going through what I'm going through? What is happening? Then I realized that, a lot more people are opening up. When in my mind, people still don't want to talk about what they're going through because either somebody will brush it aside or they equalize. And which has been an experience for some of us in our space.
Yeah,
is as though now we are competing for who is suffering more. So when you're talking, like my producer is a suspect. He's one of those people. When you're talking about, let's say, Charlie, I no get money. Charlie, something is stressing. Say, me save guy. Can I land? Guy, can I land? So this conversation for me, I'm sure it will benefit a lot of people who are probably just taking time off work to tune in or just driving. You're on your way to get some deadline out of the way and all that. This is a conversation you don't want to miss out. Well, let me just introduce my guests. We have one man who has been there for a lot of people who just want to talk. Yes, he's also well-studied, well-bred. He's a big man, but loves to be called a psychologist. He said, Giovanni, don't put that doctor thing for my tagging body because then people don't get to open up to me. I beg you, we'll still call it doctor. You studied for it. Whether they honor me with $100 if they put them in bold. Dr. Asafo, welcome.
Thank you, Giovanni.
And he's not here alone. We have a lawyer and who is also passionate about mental health and everything that concerns that. In fact, they are putting this event together. He's with Vince and Alethea. He's Eric Ofori Kwa Esquire.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So before we get into even the projects you're doing, how is your day-to-day like, Dr. Asafo? You're a very busy man.
It's always an amazing day. Like, you see, when you wake up and at the back of your mind is, okay, so how can I make somebody's life easier? That's what I thrive on. Because it's really not about the money. It's about looking at, you go to work, someone comes to you really down and they leave feeling a bit better.
Wow.
And within maybe a couple of weeks, they are even much better. That for me is like, it's
Mission
more
accomplished.
thrilling. It's more thrilling than whatsoever. You know, like the Bible says, seek ye first.
I know, right?
And the rest comes.
We'll come down to who makes you, who listens to the doctor, who treats the doctor. We'll come to that part of the conversation.
Awesome.
But yes, Eric, so you and your team decided that, you know what, let's get some corporate bodies together, let's get some individuals together and talk about mental health. Why? What have you seen?
So first of all, I would like to talk about the reason why this whole event came up. So
Okay.
we had this client that we had to put in a request at the court, so an application for temporal involuntary treatment. So if someone is suffering from mental health and the person doesn't want treatment, you cannot just carry the person to psychiatric hospital. If somebody they mad, you know, if you just decide say they carry you go Pantine.
Almost more right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You have to go to the court. Yes, under Section 42 of the Mental Health Act. So
But I am seeing this person to likely be a threat.
Yeah, you have to. And the court will now have to see through everything that you brought. And even with that, you need a psychologist to confirm that indeed the person is suffering from that before the court will grant you that application. So we did that for a client. Then we realized that this client has been suffering from this thing for over 2 decades. The client didn't even know about it. So with the help of Dr. Asafo, with our 2-week span at Kolebu, we're like, this is something we need to talk about. Because the stigma and the myth when it comes to mental health is something that most people shy away from.
True.
And this year's theme is prioritizing mental health at the workplace. So why not? Let's bring corporate entities together. Let's bring the Mental Health Authority, the Psychiatric Hospital, the Kolebu
Department of Psychiatry, Psychiatry Association of Ghana.
So with the help of Doc, we're able to bring all these people together, and it's fully booked.
But who no go book am?
And it's free.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But you shouldn't do one. Do serialize them. If I do intercity, intertown.
We think about it.
No, don't. Just do it. Because people need this.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And even as we speak, people will call. People are buzzing Doc's phone. People are calling our office. We want to join. Can you open it up? So we're doing 150. We are now pushed to do 250. And even with that, there are still calls coming through.
I think if I should have companies just organize it for their workers.
Absolutely.
Right from the top to the down. Everyone needs this.
Yeah.
What are we to expect at the event before we get down to
so we're going to have, so it's in 4 sections.
Okay.
So we're going to have a panel discussion. So we're going to have a clinical psychologist, a psychiatrist, an HR practitioner, and a lawyer speak about mental health. Then right after, we are going to have a workshop, 10 workshop with 10 top-notch facilitators. So those who want to talk about anxiety, we have the anxiety group. Those who want to talk about stress at the workplace, we have that. So 10 workshop. Then the ultimate, the wholesome mind experience. After, we move everybody to the beach at Labadi Beach Hotel. There's drink, there's comedy, there's dance, just name it. There's enough for everybody to eat.
to distress?
Absolutely.
And all for free.
Hey. Eric, I'll be back to you.
Thank you.
Now, I don't even know how to start with Doc, because this man has touched on this subject. Doc, how sane are you yourself on a scale of 0 to 10?
I mean, it's a very good question.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. There's a misconception that has plagued the field of mental health within the world for a very long time, where people look at mental health as an absolute state. Like you have it or you don't have it.
Okay.
But I want us to look at mental health a little differently. Right. It's a continuum. So just like there are days where you wake up in the morning, yeah, you're not feeling yourself.
One of those is today.
But you're not sick. See, that's the difference. So you're not feeling 100%, but you are not sick. It's the same thing with mental health. So look at it this way. I wake up on a day where I have targets to meet. I'm having relationship problems, my children's fees. All of those things means that my mental health on that day is taking punches. So it won't be at 100%. Like a day where you wake up, all is chill, everything is going on. Now, the continuum model of mental health tells us that there are things we can do to enhance our mental health, and also things that we can do to make sure our mental health declines. And whenever we talk about mental health, people confuse mental health with mental illness. It's not the same thing. So everybody has mental health. Like everybody has physical health.
Okay.
But not everybody has mental illness. Okay. So I normally say, if you look at the continuum from 0 to 10, you only have mental illness when you are below 0. So you are into negative.
Okay.
That's when you say that somebody has a mental illness.
Okay.
But as for mental health, once we go through life is made up of stresses, and stresses are necessary. They really are necessary. You will take hits, but your ability to even bounce back and manage stress is part of mental health. The way you feel is part of mental health. So if I'm an overly anxious person, that's a mental health concern. If I'm an overly shy person, so I can't, stand in front of a crowd and talk, that's a mental health related challenge. So it's not just the thinking faculty where, we normally would picture that person on the street who's unkempt and is carrying so many things. That's not what mental health is. And this is part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing. By taking these concepts, now in the breakout sessions, we have mental health topics on self-worth, which is self-esteem. We have topics on resilience, like just your ability to bounce back. And psychologists will tell you that the basis of enjoying life is your ability to bounce back when you face challenges. Whether you like it or not,
it will come.
The challenges will come. Now, the human brain is a muscle. So for those of us who go to the gym, if I'm working my chest, I for bench. If I'm working my legs, I for squat. The brain has the same mechanism. So for example, self-worth I will build by being able to do things. So as I do that, the muscles for self-worth, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. If I face challenges and I overcome them, those muscles also get what? Bigger and bigger and bigger. If, for example, I have an anxiety over talking to a large group of people, the more I do it, the more resilience I build towards it. So every activity you engage in allows for those muscles to build, both psychologically and emotionally. And that's the power of mental health, why we're doing these things. Like we have this topic on conflicts. So conflicts are not bad.
Okay.
It's the way we use them that makes it bad. So we're looking at how to teach people how to deal with conflict by being assertive. But assertiveness is not or you speak. It's a principle that you utilize so that you can get your way and the other person can also get their way. And that's what we're trying to do.
No, Doc, this calls for a whole 2-hour conversation. This one of my time is running very fast. See what is happening there. What are you touching? Dr. Seth Mawusi Asafo is a clinical psychologist and lecturer at the University of Ghana Medical School. And he's also a man who's opened his office to a lot of people. I've seen some of your, I don't know whether to call them clients or students or just friends. You know, people speak so highly of you. And it's beautiful that the team at Vince and Alethea are putting this together. The one of many. Eric, go and take a boss. I said it. One of many to come. Yeah, one of many to come. And this is happening on the 10th of October at Labadi. Currently, they are overbooked, but we are appealing that they're opening up and also get into organizations and also get to talk about mental health awareness. Let me put it that way. Yeah, being aware of it is what you're doing.
Yes. Absolutely.
How bad is the situation? Since you are exposed to the figures, and also in answering that, let's talk about age.
Okay.
Yeah, put age, put Generation Z, put all that into the answer for me because there's people are waking up now. Parents are concerned that their 4-year-olds are telling them they're stressed.
Yes.
Because they've seized their tablets from them.
Aha.
And some people are also in the older generation who believe that, hey, with all I've been through in life, it's your turn to go through
Absolutely.
You can't tell me you're
You
stressed.
understand? So I beg you, break it down.
So, I mean, thank you so much. I like what you are saying. You have observed it. Now, whenever we do any like parenting outreach, I tell parents that the principles your parents used on you and that you are using on your children, this time they don't work. And there's a reason for it. You see, when we were in our age cohort, when they lash you, all your friends, or at least 80% of your friends too, they lash. So it wasn't a big deal. Today, majority of them aren't being lashed. So you lash one, they get confused because it's like, you are treating me a little differently from everybody else. That's the first one. Now, the second thing is, out of the our love for our children, we try as much as possible to protect them. And in that protection, what we do is we stifle the ability to develop. So I go to work and then I have a child come to me and say, and this I always say and people laugh about it. It's like, life is unbearable. I don't want to live again. I say, yeah, well, what's happening? He say, my air condition doesn't work.
That is why.
Because your air condition doesn't
and
work.
you have air condition.
I'm saying that subliminally in my mind, but professionally, I say, I think this must be really hard for you. And the truth of the matter is, we aren't allowing our children to become problem solvers. Now, because I mentioned earlier that the human brain is a muscle, if you work the muscle gains strength. So now most children have little challenges and then they throw their hands in the air. I can't do this anymore because they don't have problem solving. Why? Because we become overprotective. We become helicopter parents. Like when the challenge comes, you want to solve it for the child. But during our time, if problem come, you will deal with it your way first because you could see, like, parents gave that opportunity. Now, I tell lots of parents, like, if you want to build self-worth within your child, let them be autonomous. Give them the opportunity to
make their own mistakes.
They should make the mistakes. It's the best form of learning.
Really?
I mean, guided, not like...
Go and jump in hot water.
No, that one.
Okay.
It's, I see fire and I say touch the fire. No, not that kind of thing. But like one of the most classic things that we're noticing is a lot of parents don't allow their children to engage in physical activity.
True.
Go out and like play football or ride your bike. They'll fall down. They'll break down.
In gated communities, you don't even play with the next neighbor.
You get it?
Yeah.
So all those things make the children not even know their own abilities. And that's a big problem. Now, we also do notice, like, I mean, in terms of mental health, at different ages, there are some mental health conditions that may gain more precedence, as it were. So within the toddler to, let's say, before adolescence, we have lots of issues surrounding like these what we call developmental divergent disorders. Like you hear these ADHD, autism spectrum, we hear all of them. But I want people to also understand that even with such diagnosis, with early intervention, because the treatment is still behavioral, you get the muscles to realign, they will function. Now, in adolescence, one of the biggest challenges, children, they consider their peers as more intellectual than anybody else. But that actually is a zone where they are trying to find identity. I mean, I remember when I got into like SS, I used to come home late, not because I had anything to do, but just I'd grown small beard.
So you want to show
get
that?
The voice, you know.
Oh boy, you can wait.
You see that thing? My dad called me one day and he said, 2 kings cannot live in one castle. Neither can 2 captains be in one ship. So he said, between you and I, decide. I got the message. See? But truthfully, you see that like women are their secondary sexual characteristics, but they are getting breasts and hips and they are menstruating. So they believe they are adults. Many parents look at them as they're being disrespectful, but truthfully, they are confused about whether they are children or adults. And if you're not careful, you lose them. And that's where when you lose them, then they get into that whole concept of like drug use and I'm going to use this word reservedly, like delinquency. Because honestly, if you can't listen and won't listen, somebody will, except that person doesn't have the same insight like you do. As a parent, you've been a child before. But imagine me advising my colleague at that age, child, I won't do this or do. Sometimes it's not do it because I want you to do it so you fail and I can laugh at you. You know, that kind of thing. Then you get into like young adulthood. Then relationship issues, they come. You want to form, you want to form bonds. And if you are not able to do that, then you start to feel like, Charlie, me safe, how did I? And you know, people translate. They get into like middle adulthood, and that's why you see people talk about midlife crisis. Like, hey, suddenly, what's going on? And that age group of people, they like giving advice, but every time they see you, they'll give you advice. That's part of, they've learned, and they feel they have to give back. If that doesn't happen, all of those things put them in places that predisposes them to like a mental health decline of some sort. So it's and then, I mean, with aging, like when you get into older adulthood, is you're looking at your life. You're seeing all the things you've been through, and you're starting to feel, oh, Charlie, I should have made this decision instead of that one. Now, all those things can make you feel sad, can put you down, and also with a combination of all the experiences you've had within your life, it also pushes the tendency for you to have some mental health issues.
I have another question here on the event. Someone just dropped it on me. Giovanni, great conversation here. Dr. Asafo is a great guy. I have been observing him from afar as well. I got lucky to register for the Wholesome Mind concept, and I can't wait to see you guys on the 10th. My brother, lucky you. I know get space safe chop Osha. So I don't know about. I can't wait to see you there. Which part you go see me for the car park? So I don't know about that one. But when it's all said and done, Eric, what do you want people to learn or pick from this event?
Okay, so that's a very great question. We want people to appreciate that mental health is really a topic that needs to be talked about. Just as Doug made mention, it cuts across all spheres of life, from childhood to adulthood. When your child comes home, please listen. Husbands, when your wife comes home, please listen. Wives, when your husband also comes home, please listen. Because it's not easy out there. Especially stress at the workplace. It's tiring. So I was just telling Doc when I was coming, I had overheating this morning of the Major Mahama Stretch. So I was in the inner lane. I have to find a way to pack. I have a meeting at 8:30.
Something you had planned for all weekend.
Just imagine. So this is a topic that we all need to get ourselves involved and help each other.
Doug, which areas people they come your office they open up about when it comes to mental health? What they stress them? What are some of the common things you hear on the daily?
Okay. Oh yeah, those ones are classic.
Which one?
Like
the money?
Traffic.
The traffic.
The traffic. Yeah. Really?
Oh yes.
People come see you, a specialist.
It's part of the like, let's say the combination of things they have. But it is real. I mean, let me put it in context.
Okay.
You see, the thing about stress is it doesn't matter what kind of stress, your brain reacts in the same way. That's one thing we must understand. Okay? So if lion they chase me, my brain is going to kick my survival system into high gear.
Okay.
To help me deal with it. The same way when I'm
If you be light off.
be light off. The same way that just thinking about, oh my goodness, and that discomfort allows the brain to code it and says danger. So the brain codes danger or no danger.
Hold on. So if I go tell my wife, say my day has been very stressful all day, and they say, what do I say, faculty no come job. And he say, I no pay. And so how about me taking care of a toddler? How about me doing this, trying to get the breakfast and all those? So make we know equate the stress.
You see, it comes back to say that we deal with stress very differently, and the experience of stress is very subjective. So do not ever trivialize what somebody's stress is. I was telling you about the student who says his air conditioning doesn't work. Now, it's stressful enough for him to feel like life is unnecessary.
Hey.
Then you will say, oh, because of air conditioning, all you've done is to point the person towards doom. Do you get my point? Now, let me give you this practical example. You watch movies. Why is it that people watch horror movies and feel fear? I mean, the monster is not coming out of the screen, but you still feel the fear, because what the human mind does is, whatever you think, it creates a picture of it and puts you within it. Same way like people will watch some emotional movie, they cry at the end of the movie, but they will see the same person in 3 other movies and still cry. So the same thing about stress is when you start, like DJ faculty didn't come to work, and you're like, God, my show won't work. People will be asking. The moment you start to think it, you start to experience the emotions of it actually happening, even though you are making an assumption of what things will be. So the modern stressor really starts from the way we think about it.
Screen time, and stress among children, among younger adults. I'm sure you get that a lot as well.
Plenty. Screen time is a big deal now.
Globally, people are having a lot of. I mean, I've read several researches around that. Some people have they've measured that against performance at the workplace.
Drops.
And it's scary where we're going.
Yeah.
It's like that pandemic nobody's talking about.
So now we're talking about moderation, because we can't do away with the screens. So it's like setting up a formula that allows you to gain control. Now, what we know about screens, that the more you use these screens, especially in mundane activity, the more your brain shrinks. And for the human brain,
Is it?
the brain actually shrinks, especially in children.
Brain we no get, no.
Yes, it is shrink. In children especially, like those children who've been put under like scans, like excessive use of screens actually shrinks the brain. That's just one of the statistics. Now, for a lot of children, they get developmental delays, especially with speech, because of screen time. Why? Because the screens do one-way communication. But to develop speech, it must be social. Like, you're communicating, but most of us, you give the kiddie screen so you can do your work. Now, the child will build vocabulary, but they won't use it because in the screen, they are not being expected to give the back and forth. So that's also a big deal. Now, the other critical thing, which captures like the entirety of even adults, is screens. Well, not screens, but they are a conduit. So what people use screens for releases something in the brain we call dopamine. Dopamine makes you feel good, makes you feel excited. So when people smoke or take these drugs, it's the dopamine release that gives them the thrill. Now, naturally, your brain releases dopamine when you achieve something. So like when I eat, my brain releases dopamine. So I enjoy. So we say, oh, you chop the food out, then you make happy. But the reality is, it's a survival mechanism. So the brain is saying, you see, I want to give you this sweetness again. Remember to eat. But the eating is for survival. Let's say you've gone to school, you've achieved some accolade. Your brain releases, tells you do it again. Now, if you're schooling, you get the assumption is you'll get a good job, and that allows you to feel safe. Okay. But we now found a way to trick our brains to release dopamine without any lesson. So when I take my phone, now scroll TikTok, hey, Charlie, sweet too. My brain just keeps enjoying what's happening. So I'm getting excessive dopamine release. Now, the natural release, if it's one, the one that's created by screen or the drugs or any other substance is like 100. So with time, I need to spend, it's like an addiction created where I need to spend more time on my device just to feel normal. So I always tell people the best test to know whether you might probably be addicted to your devices, think about putting it aside for a whole day.
Okay.
If it doesn't make you feel any kind of way,
the withdrawal symptoms and all that,
you are not there. But if you just process and you're like, Charlie, no, I no go fit.
I know fit.
That tells you that
I know fit. Look, I tell you right now, if I don't enter consulting room, I know go fit. I dey beg you. I beg you.
that's the reality.
For me, it's phone calls that are my trigger. Like, see, my phone there, do not disturb, 24/7. And people don't understand. Like, what happens in case of an emergency? Charlie, then we all go die. See, one guy, like, it stresses me. And it's a lot of, especially from string numbers. It stresses the hell out of me. So, and I don't know, maybe over time I've learned to cope by maybe this thing. But my screen time too, these days, most of the apps put a limit, or they ask you to customize your time you want to spend
Exactly.
with it. But even now, I said nobody they watch. I go feel disable and ignore the warnings.
Baby, if you knew the things that could happen as a result of that, it might start saying, okay. So we say that modern health is all about being intentional. That's the reality. Like, you have so much choice.
Okay.
But the choice, so think about it this way. We're looking for better fuel sources. So today we get petrol, diesel, kerosene, coal, solar,
electric.
we have all these things, okay? Now, their profiles for byproducts is what we look at to say cleaner forms of energy. Do you understand? So we say solar is a cleaner form of energy as compared to petrol and good. Now, in a similar light, whatever I consume also has byproducts. But it will do the same job because it's a fuel. Except we also know that high-fat diets, excessive sugars, also they bump up and affect the way the brain functions. So if you're not intentional, let's take a simple thing like sleep. Today, if you say you no go sleep, you have so much to occupy your mind so that you don't sleep. But sleep is the only time the brain and the body restores itself. So if you're not intentional about sleeping, you're in
Making
trouble.
time for sleep.
Yes.
I'm a much better sleeper. Producer, respect yourself. I'm a much better sleeper now, and I'll tell you what worked. The last time, I don't know, I was telling my DJ about the same thing, how I try to limit my sleep time, especially after 8 p.m. I try to limit my screen time.
Awesome.
And I also try not to take the phone to the bedroom.
Beautiful.
I try. It's not always that I get it. And also, I'm now a morning person. I didn't used to be a morning person. So, of course, I can be sleeping for 12 hours.
Awesome.
So, the brain will wake up after 8, 7. And my Fitband also regulates
Good.
the time I sleep. So, if I have less than 6 hours sleep now, I feel very, very cranky in the morning.
I'll show you something even more. Because you have a sleep app, okay? I want you to track your sleep for a whole week.
Yeah.
And in tracking it, what I want you to look at is your heartbeat per minute. Now, when you go to sleep, okay, for you to enter the restorative part of sleep or deep sleep, your heart rate should or will drop to about 40 beats per minute, as compared to the usual like 80 within the normal wakefulness. That is what shows that you went into deep sleep. So there are people who go
sleep
to
and
bed,
don't sleep.
they don't go to deep sleep. They are on the surface of sleep.
Oh, doc, I feel crazy. I try. So now, no be every sleep is sleep.
No. Not
I
every
go feed
sleep.
bed 10 hours, and maybe the proper sleeping there will be 2
Maybe
hours.
as they sleep, they think. So something there your mind top we still they think about.
So at the bed right now, my brain is a free
When you go to
protesters.
bed.
My brain.
Usually you go through like some people say 4 or 5. There are
phases.
4 stages, okay? The first 2 are the easiest. Then the last 2, that's where the magic happens. That's where dreaming occurs. So you see, your brain needs dreams to feel normal. So if, for example, like one of the things that we notice, like people who deprive themselves of sleep, they start to hallucinate.
True.
And that is the brain.
I hear they use it on terrorists. And
that's your brain telling you that, my guy, if you no go sleep and dream, I will create the dream because I need it in order to function.
Wow, this is a form of torture.
No, it is. It is real. So this
is you are sleep starved.
This is the intentionality issue we talk about. That if you are not intentional about it, it means you're probably not getting enough.
So taking coffee and trying to be awake.
Well,
the
principle about taking coffee is you don't take coffee 6 hours before bedtime. Because coffee has caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours.
That's right.
And caffeine is a stimulant. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a few people who take coffee and still sleep well. But the majority of people, or people who are insomniacs, who struggle to sleep, will tell you the guideline is don't take coffee after 3 p.m. because that means you are aiming to sleep around 9. So if you take at 6, you're aiming to sleep at midnight. So those are some of the things. Like,
so you can take coffee, say, yeah, they made you fat for supper. And they say, what you man no.
So even at the Wholesome Mind Summit, we've decided that we will not serve coffee.
Wow.
We'll serve tea because we're talking about sleep as one of the important pillars of productivity and well-being.
Now that you brought it up, what are areas are you looking at? Apart from sleep.
So we have conflict, we have self-esteem, we have psychological safety.
What's that?
Psychological safety has to do with like work environments, like feeling that you're part of the team, you're giving credit for what you do, you don't feel stifled. You don't feel
valued at work.
You feel valued at work. That's psychological safety. And we always say that in every corporate institution where there's psychological safety, there's people thrive because they can make mistakes and not fear other people. Like you make one mistake, so you have this tension. Now there's an interesting experiment was conducted. There was a wolf and 2 lambs, baby sheep. Now one wolf, like the first cage, they were all caged. Okay. Now the lamb in the middle closest to the wolf died after 3 days.
Fear.
Just from the perception that
I'll be the next meal.
Chairman come out, I die. And that's what an environment which is not psychologically safe is. I mean, there are lots of people who wear our Fitbits or we ask them to track things, and they'll tell you, the moment I see my office building, my BP spikes. That tells you there's a trigger in there. And sometimes it's quite subliminal. Like you are not aware. Without that feedback system, you cannot even tell. So that's psychological safety.
And then the whole country is in that state.
Oh.
And their dog already made their call. And then the whole country. Me, if I see the Ghana flags, then my BP shoots.
But in the same way, there are things that we will teach you or help you with to be able to deal with some of these things. Because like I'm saying, mental health, physical health is all about intentionality. True. The reality is you think it seems real. So we tell people stay present.
Wow.
What does stay present mean? You see, when I sit here today and I think about maybe some upcoming bill, the assumption my brain is making is premised on the fact that it's looking at the resources I have today. So maybe today all I get is 10 CD in my account. Tomorrow I will buy something which is 20 CD and I'm like,
that pressure alone.
But tomorrow in itself is another opportunity. And things change. Like things aren't constant, they're dynamic. So teaching people the concept of optimism and also being able to stay present becomes a protection. So you see, you think something, your survival system is activated. So we say anything you can do to reduce or turn off your survival system is important. So at the Wholesome Mind Summit, we'll be doing what we call mindfulness activities that allow you to stay present and in tune with yourself. So even if you turn off that engine, the danger engine, for 10 minutes, it has very significant benefits to your body and your health.
Dr. Seth Mawusi Asafo, he's a clinical psychologist and a lecturer. And Eric is still here with us. Eric Oforikoa, he's a lawyer and also part of the team at Vince and Alethea. They're putting together the Wholesome Mind Summit. And it's happening on the first of its kind, 10th of October at Labadi, fully booked events. Would you be live on social media for those who want to join virtually?
That's what we
an
are
option?
thinking. That's an option that we're looking
Yeah,
at.
please, this one there. Even if you have to go to your website, do it for us because not all of us can fit in there.
So yes.
I beg you. If it's not too late, reconsider. And we've been talking about, among other things, your mental health and how you need to be very aware of everything and living in the moment. And for me, my takeout is how you'd have to be intentional about how you interpret things around you. And how you sometimes the stress we put on our body to be self-imposed.
Absolutely. You see, the issue about interpretation. I give you this is a classic example I use everywhere I go. I hate it when someone cuts me off in traffic with a drive and somebody cuts me. Then my first instinct is so you think
I'm not in a hurry.
You know that kind of thing. Now, sometimes it goes a little further. Oh, you think you are better than me? You think so?
Or your car is better than mine.
Good. So they relate.
Yes.
So then I get upset. You get my point.
It really happen.
The moment you get upset, your body starts pushing you. It says danger. So it triggers the body to prepare for danger. Danger where no deal. Then some day like that, I was driving from Kolebu, and I ate something I shouldn't have eaten. So some reaction
they happen for the
they cut people. Bah. Finally, I got into chambers, and when all was settled, then I remembered, my guy. So you see the way people cut you, they vex.
Yeah, you know, be the same thing go to the.
So guess what happened? Now someone cuts me, I'm like, they tire.
Yeah, they go washroom.
So you see the power of interpretation.
Me, always imagine doctor get emergency every time.
Okay. So you see, just by changing the perspective, the way your body reacts is also different.
Let me also share mine. Road rage.
Yes.
How to handle it now. I used to be that guy, and I used to have a side arm. So I get gun for my body as I drive. So those days, then, man, anytime you drive, I do on the defensive. Say something good happen, then Charlie, man, useful exuberance. Right now, they give my body that power of 3 seconds, 5 seconds thing.
Very good.
Reaction time. I feel better. Sometimes I feel laughter.
Awesome.
Somebody do me later, come back. Giovanni, be you, I say, my guy, I be me. I say, Charlie, man, chop, I say, all the best, my brother.
Are you?
So, and sometimes I feel give people ways, then you go collect 1B for the guy inside. As you stretch your hands, say you can't pass. If you say you want,
you are say why?
Why? So I collect the thing finish and go back. Sorry, I'm not saying you. I say my guy, anything. So I can't pen them. So this interpretation can be very powerful too.
Exactly. Power of interpretation.
Yeah.
So like your thoughts influence your emotions influence your action. So if you think the thing in the negative way, the resultant emotion be what? Negative. And the action that follows to be negative. Some man I work with, every day in wife call me vex. Say my wife won't audit me. He thinks I did some corner. So every day, baby, where are you? When are you coming? Your man go vex. I say, but is there any other interpretation that? He say, no, there's nothing. I say, but wait, if someone keeps calling you and you say, where are you coming? It also means I miss you. I need you. And that's how that whole issue stopped.
Yeah.
Because suddenly, the power of interpretation changed the dynamics. So in today's world, stress is premised on the way we process the events. Perspective is everything.
Finally, why do men cry?
Men cry because, I tell you, men cry because it is part of our normal human architecture to cry. Now, let me give you an analogy to explain this. If you feel like using the washroom, like you need to take a leak, okay, you can hold it for some time. After that time, if you don't drop, it will drop.
Yeah.
Same thing with our emotions. So you see, a lot of the time, what happens to us is we pile on our emotions, and then some little trigger will come and slap you and pull all out. So if you were intentionally dealing with it, you would have been better off. So men cry because it's part of normal human architecture. I mean, think of it. If a door bangs on your finger, what's the first thing you do? You shout. It's a reflex. Because by expressing, you reduce the stress, you reduce the pain. And tears, in fact, are made up of the stress hormone cortisol. So as you cry, you are letting some of what? That stress out. Men have been socialized to do bare mensu. That's how we've been socialized. So we force ourselves not to. But I'm telling you today, if you don't let it out naturally, it will come. So many men displace. They hold the thing as you go to work. And so we talk about work-life balance as part of what we are doing also. You go to work, they stress you out. Then when you come home, because at work, you know, if you misbehave, problem will come. So you won't say anything. Then when you come home and then maybe your wife or your child says something, you vex. That is displacement. But that's part of the human architecture to allow some of the stress out. So we cry because we're human. We have a heart, blood flows through our veins. We're like everybody else. Society tells us not to cry, but biologically, we have to.
Hi, I have a lot more. In fact, I've not even reached halfway through my questions, but I'll save the rest for our part 2 of this. I think after the event, we need to have a full 1-hour conversation here on the show where we'll get into our homes, marriages. We'll get into a young man done with school, family's expectation. You know, a lot of young people are stressed because, hey, Charlie, this be the time old boy they expect say make her deliver. My puppy go die before I go can make money. Mommy they sick. I go feel all that stress. We'll get into that full-blown conversation much later on. But I wish you all the very best on the 10th.
Thank you.
Eric, anything else you want us to know before we wrap it up?
Okay, so with what you just added, we'll think about having the social media bit so that those who were not able to register can be able to join. Because it's really great for them to have great insight from Dr. Seth and his people and learn more about mental health. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. That's lawyer Eric Ofurikwa. Yes. And he's with Team Vince and Alethea. And Dr. Seth, your final words.
There are 3 free things that you do to enhance your mental health. Like I said, it's a continuum. First one has to do with sleep. I beg you, try and get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day.
That's what you did here. Why they put headphones?
That's the first one. The second thing has to do with our diet. Now remember that without sleep, the diet and exercise bit, they are limited in their functioning. So your diet is, make sure your diet is colorful. So fruits, nuts, vegetables, and proteins that are rich in omega-3. Very, very important. And the last one is exercise. So when you exercise, one of the things it does, especially aerobic exercise, is it sends oxygen-rich blood into your brain that allows it to function even better. The other thing is exercise is a time of mindfulness. You can't be exercising and be thinking about your problems. You break your leg. So in that moment when you're exercising, you're jogging, your mind is on the jog, you are riding, it's on the riding. So it turns off your stress signal temporarily. These ones are free. If you don't use them, you come and we'll collect you.
Thank you. Yeah, they can't talk more.
We'll collect you.
Take this one whilst you can, because
put this for body.
Take this one, hold body. Thank you so much, Dr. Seth Asafo, and we wish you guys all the very best on the 10th. Our quick commercial break. One return will be time for a hot edition.
Reliable, check. Comfort, check. Strong.